Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Christian Faith and Fiction. My name's Lou and today I'm going to be doing a video about the Christian fiction new releases that I'm most excited about that are coming out in January and February 2020. There are loads of books coming out at the moment, but I've picked 8 of the ones that I am most excited about. These are the ones that really interest me from their Goodreads descriptions. On Wings of Devotion by Roseanna M. White is the second book in the Codebreaker series, and that releases on January the 7th. All of England thinks Philip Camden is a monster, a man who deliberately caused the deaths of his squadron. But as Nurse Arabelle watches the so-called Black Heart every day, she sees something far different, a hurting man desperate for mercy. And when their paths twist together and he declares himself her new protector, she knows she has a role to play in his healing. Philip Camden would have preferred to have died that day with his squadron rather than be recruited into the Admiralty's code-breaking division. The threats he receives daily are no great surprise, and in his opinion, well deserved. What comes as a shock is the reborn desire to live that is inspired by Arabelle. But when an old acquaintance shows up and seems set on using him in a plot that sets the codebreakers of Room 40 in a frenzy, new affections are put to the test. I read the first book in the series, The Number of Love, and really enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to reading another book set in the same place but following one of the other characters from that book. The Solid Grounds Coffee Company by Carla Laureano is a contemporary romance that releases on the 4th of February. I've read the first 2 books in that series. The first one is called The Saturday Night Supper Club, and the second is Brunch at Bittersweet Cafe. Annalyn Sanchez can handle the long hours and arrogant clients that come with her job as a crisis management associate at Denver's largest publicity firm. The high-powered job, expensive condo and designer wardrobe are all part of her plan to prove to her family that her life choices haven't been in vain. But when she's asked to cover up a client's misdeeds, which may have serious moral and legal ramifications, she can no longer sacrifice her conscience for her career, and the cost is no less than her job. Ever since a devastating climbing accident in South America 8 months ago and a bad decision that dried up his sponsorships, professional rock climber Brian Shaw has found himself at similar loose ends. When the opportunity to buy a coffee farm in Colombia arises, he jumps on it, only to discover that his wandering ways have left him utterly unprepared to run a business. When Brian returns home and offers Anna a role in his company as a solution to both their problems, she's desperate enough to consider working with the far too flippant and far too handsome climber, even though he's the polar opposite of her type A personality. As they delve deeper into the business, however, she begins to suspect that there's much more to Brian than she's given him credit for, and that sometimes the best plans are the ones you never see coming. I'm looking forward to reading a book from Anna's perspective. She has a different personality from the other 2 women in the series, Rachel and Melody. I've seen a bit of her and Brian in the other books, so I feel like I already know her a bit going into this story. The Tea Chest by Heidi Chiavaroli is a dual time period novel releasing on the 4th of February. Boston 1773. Emma Malcolm's father is staunchly loyal to the crown, but Emma's heart belongs to Noah Winslow, a lowly printer's assistant and a patriot. But her father has promised her hand to Samuel Clark, a rapacious and sadistic man. As his fiancé, she would have to give up Noah and the friends she's come to think of as family, as well as the beliefs that she's come to embrace. After Emma is drawn into the treacherous Boston Tea Party, Samuel blackmails her with evidence that condemns each participant, including Noah. Emma realises she must do whatever it takes to protect those she loves, even if it means giving up the life she desires and becoming Samuel's wife. In the present day, Lieutenant Hayley Ashworth is determined to become the first woman inducted into the elite Navy SEALs. But before her dream can be realised, she has to return to Boston to put the abuse and neglect of her childhood behind her. When an unexpected encounter with the man she once loved leads to the discovery of a tea chest and the document within, She wonders if perhaps true strength and freedom are buried deeper than she first thought. Both these women's stories sound intriguing to me. I only know the bare bones of the events of the Boston Tea Party. They both sound like strong female characters with difficult family relationships. Veiled in Smoke by Jocelyn Green is a historical novel set in Chicago and releases on the 4th of February. If you don't mind, I'm going to read the descriptions now because I started off trying to kind of learn them and say them to camera, but honestly there's so much to say on these, so I'm going to read it. Meg and Sylvie Townsend manage the family bookshop and care for their father Stephen, a veteran still suffering in mind and spirit from his time as a prisoner of war during the Civil War. But when the Great Fire sweeps through Chicago's business district, they lose much more than just their store. The sisters become separated from their father, and after Meg burns her hands in an attempt to save a family heirloom, they make a harrowing escape from the flames, with the help of Chicago Tribune reporter Nate Pierce. Once the smoke clears away, they reunite with Stephen, only to learn soon after that their family friend not only died during the fire, he was murdered. Even more shocking, Stephen is charged with the crime and committed to the Cook County Insane Asylum. Though homeless, injured and suddenly unemployed, Meg must not only gather the pieces of her shattered life, but prove her father's innocence before the asylum truly drives him mad. That's a pretty big disaster to recover from. This sounds like historical fiction, maybe with a romance, definitely with a murder mystery. Again, this is not a time period or place that I'm familiar with. Sounds like it's going to have a dramatic plot with a strong female character. Cry of the Raven by Morgan L. Busse is a Christian fantasy novel releasing on the 4th of February. This is the third book in the Ravenwood saga. I'm not going to read the description for this one because this series follows on from one to the other. But in this book, Lady Selene Ravenwood has come into her full power as a dream walker, and I guess there's more going on in the world around. There's wars and different things going on. This is going to wrap up the story, so I'm really interested to know how that will take place. Everything's coming to a climax, so we'll see whether people survive or are destroyed. And yeah, I'm expecting there to be some shocks and sad bits as well as a good ending. The Fifth Avenue Story Society by Rachel Hauck is a contemporary novel releasing on the 4th of February again. Her book, The Wedding Dress, I think was one of the really popular books in Christian fiction. I haven't read it yet, but it sounds like it's good. An invitation to join the Fifth Avenue Story Society gives 5 New York strangers a chance to rewrite their own stories. Executive Assistant Lexa is eager for a much deserved promotion, but her boss is determined to keep her underemployed. Literature Professor Jet is dealing with a broken heart, as well as a nagging suspicion his literary idol, Gordon Phipps Roth, might be a fraud. Uber driver Chuck just wants a second chance with his kids. Aging widow Ed is eager to write the true story of his incredible marriage. Coral, queen of the cosmetics industry, has broken her engagement and is on the verge of losing her great-grandmother's multi-million-dollar empire. When all 5 New Yorkers receive an anonymous, mysterious invitation to the Fifth Avenue Story Society, they suspect they're victims of a practical joke. No one knows who sent the invitations or why. No one has heard of the Literary Society, and no one is prepared to bare their deepest secrets to a room full of strangers. Yet curiosity and loneliness bring them back week after week to the old library, and it's there they discover the stories of their hearts and the kind of friendship and love that heals their souls. I like the idea of a secret book club that gets together all sorts of different people and then forms a community out of that. I'm guessing that the story is told from lots of different perspectives of all the different characters, but maybe it's just one main character who meets all these different people. I'm not sure. Daughter of Rome by Tessa Afshar is a biblical fiction novel releasing on the 4th of February. This tells the imagined story of Priscilla and Aquila, who are two stories that appear in the Bible. I'm interested to see how Tessa Afshar imagines that their story and romance played out. A woman with a devastating secret, a man bent on proving his worth, a chance encounter that catapults them into the heart of history. When the daughter of a prominent Roman general meets a disinherited Jewish immigrant, neither one can dream of God's plan to transform them into the most influential couple of the early church, nor can they anticipate the mountains that will threaten to bury them. Their courtship unwittingly shadowed by murder and betrayal, Priscilla and Aquila slowly work to build a community of believers, while their lives grow increasingly complicated thanks to a shaggy dog, a mysterious runaway, and the ruthless foe desperate for love. But when they're banished from their home by a capricious emperor, they must join forces with an unusual rabbi named Paul and fight to turn treachery into redemption. The Vault Between Spaces by Chawna Schroeder is a Christian fantasy novel being published by Enclave Publishing, and it releases on the 11th of February. Every legend must start somewhere. No prisoner who enters the gates of Hopewell ever leaves, but from the moment Oriel sets foot inside Anna Troshka's most formidable prison camp, she unsettles both commandant and prisoner alike with eyes that see beyond the surface and music that trails her everywhere. Petite and delicate though she appears, Oriel bows before neither threat nor punishment. Moreover, she makes no attempt to hide her intention. Oriel plans to escape the inescapable Hopewell. But when facades are stripped away and myth becomes clothed in flesh, what begins as a prison break becomes a mission to stop the invasion of evil itself. I think this book is coming out in hardback first, so I'll be waiting until it comes out in paperback before I buy it. I'm on the lookout for another good Christian fantasy series to get into, so hopefully I'll enjoy this one. I've had mixed successes last year, but maybe this one will work out for me. I'm not sure when the paperback comes out, so I probably won't pick it up till later in the year. So those are all the books I've got to talk about today. Let me know in the comments if you are anticipating any new releases in January, February. Let me know if any of those books sound interesting to you. And until next time, bye!